It was a rainy morning when Mia, a struggling single mom, rushed out of her tiny apartment, holding an umbrella in one hand and her son's backpack in the other. She was late for work again. Her old phone showed the Uber app frozen, so when a sleek black car stopped in front of her, she didn't think twice. She opened the door, smiled politely, and said, "Please hurry, I can't be late today." The man behind the wheel looked at her with calm, curious eyes, but said nothing. He simply nodded and drove off. Mia didn't notice his expensive watch, the crisp suit, or the way he carried himself. She was too busy worrying about the bills, waiting at home, and the school meeting she couldn't miss. What she didn't know was that the man she just ordered around wasn't an Uber driver at all. He was Ethan Cole, the new CEO of the company where she worked as an assistant. A man worth millions, yet tired of people treating him differently because of it. During that short ride, something unexpected happened. Ethan saw something in Mia that most people missed. Her honesty, her kindness, and her exhaustion told a story money couldn't hide. But when Mia later walked into the office and saw him sitting in the boss's chair, her heart nearly stopped. Her driver was now her boss, and he remembered everything. What would he say next? Mia froze by the doorway, her breath caught in her throat. The office suddenly felt smaller, quieter, as if every sound had vanished except for the pounding of her heart. Ethan looked up from his desk, that same calm expression on his face, but now his eyes carried a hint of amusement. Their eyes met for a moment that felt like forever. Mia wanted to disappear. She remembered every word she'd said in the car, how she had complained about her useless job and the new boss who probably doesn't care about people like her. Ethan didn't mention the ride, at least not yet. He simply greeted her with a polite, "Good morning, Ms. Reed," as if nothing had happened. But his tone was gentle, almost teasing. That made Mia even more nervous. The rest of the team whispered about how mysterious their new CEO was. No one knew where he came from or why he suddenly took over the company. And now, Mia was the only one who had accidentally met him in the most embarrassing way possible. As the day went on, Mia tried to stay invisible, hoping Ethan would forget. But every time she looked up, she caught him watching her, his expression unreadable. Was he angry? Curious? Planning to fire her? She couldn't tell. All she knew was that her ordinary world had just turned upside down, and the man she thought was a stranger now held her future in his hands. The next few days at the office felt like walking on thin ice for Mia. Every time Ethan passed by, her stomach tightened. He wasn't the kind of boss who raised his voice or gave long lectures. He was quiet, observant, and hard to read. That made him even more intimidating. He treated everyone kindly, yet there was something about the way he spoke to her that felt different, personal, almost as if he was testing her. During a team meeting, Ethan surprised everyone by asking Mia for her opinion on a major project. She froze for a moment but spoke honestly, suggesting changes that could help the company save money. To her shock, Ethan smiled slightly and said, "That's a good point. Let's do that." The room went silent. No one had ever seen the CEO take advice from an assistant before. After that, whispers started. Some admired her, others were jealous, assuming she had some secret connection with him. Outside of work, Mia's life remained a struggle. Her son Leo needed school supplies she couldn't afford, and her rent was already late. One evening, as she sat in her tiny kitchen, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Asterisk, "Don't worry about tomorrow's shift. You deserve a break." Asterisk, her heart raced. Only one person could have sent that to Ethan, but how did he get her number? And why did he care? The line between kindness and something deeper was blurring fast, and Mia didn't know whether to trust him or stay far away. The next morning, Mia walked into the office with her heart heavy and her mind full of questions. She had barely slept, thinking about Ethan's message. She tried to convince herself it was just a coincidence, maybe a mix-up, but deep down, she knew it wasn't. When she entered, everyone seemed to be whispering. A big announcement was scheduled, and Ethan had called for a full staff meeting. The tension in the air was sharp. When he walked in, tall and composed, all eyes turned to him. His gaze briefly met Mia's before he began speaking. He announced a major restructuring plan, one that could result in layoffs. The room filled with uneasy murmurs. Mia felt her heart sink. She couldn't lose this job. It was all she had. Ethan's expression remained calm, but his voice softened when he looked at her. "Some decisions," he said, "aren't easy, but they're necessary for growth." After the meeting, he asked to see her privately. The walk to his office felt endless. When she entered, he closed the door behind her and handed her a folder. Her hands trembled as she opened it, expecting a termination letter, but instead, it was an offer for a promotion. Confused and speechless, she looked up, searching for answers. Ethan finally spoke, his tone quiet but intense. "You think I don't know what real hard work looks like, Mia? I've seen it. In you." Mia stared at Ethan, unable to find her voice. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. A promotion? It didn't make sense. She had expected punishment, not reward. "Why me?" she finally whispered. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his eyes steady on hers. "Because I need someone who understands struggle," he said softly. "Someone who doesn't fake kindness." His words left her shaken. Before she could respond, his assistant rushed in, face pale, whispering something urgent in his ear. Ethan's expression changed instantly from calm to tense. He excused Mia and left in a hurry, leaving the folder on his desk. Curiosity got the better of her. She glanced down at the papers and froze. Her name wasn't the only one in the file. There was a confidential report about an internal investigation. It listed employees suspected of leaking company information, and her name was circled in red. Panic hit her like a wave. The next day, whispers filled the office again, but this time they weren't about a promotion. People were talking about a betrayal, about stolen files, about someone Ethan trusted being involved. Mia's hands shook as she worked, every minute feeling like an hour. Late that evening, Ethan called her to his office again. He looked different, now tired, guarded. "We need to talk," he said, sliding the file toward her. "There's something I need to know, and I want you to be honest with me." Mia's heart pounded as she sat across from Ethan, the file lying open between them. Every word felt heavy, every second stretched longer. "You think I did this?" she asked quietly, her voice trembling. Ethan didn't answer right away. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes conflict, not anger. "The evidence points to your login," he said finally. "But something tells me there's more to this." Tears welled in Mia's eyes. "I would never betray this company," she said, her voice breaking. "This job feeds my son." Ethan watched her carefully, then pressed a button on his desk phone. "Bring him in," he said. The door opened, and Mia's coworker Daniel, the only person who had ever helped her with the computer system, was escorted inside by security. Her breath caught. Daniel's face turned pale when he saw the file. Ethan laid the truth bare. Daniel had been using Mia's credentials to cover his tracks, stealing data to sell to a rival company. He had even planted her name in the report to keep suspicion off himself. When confronted, Daniel broke down and confessed. Mia sat frozen, tears streaming down her face, a mix of relief and shock. Ethan dismissed security and turned back to her. "I told you I believed in you," he said softly, but before she could thank him, Ethan opened another folder, this one with her name alone. "And now," he said, a faint smile on his lips, "there's something else you deserve to know." Mia wiped her tears as Ethan slid the final folder across the desk. Her hands shook as she opened it, expecting another shock, but instead, she found an official letter offering her a permanent management position, along with a salary she could hardly believe. "You've proven something most people never do," Ethan said quietly, "that integrity is worth more than experience. You didn't just work hard, you stayed honest, even when life gave you every reason not to." For a moment, she couldn't speak. All the long nights, skipped meals, and quiet prayers flashed before her eyes. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Ethan smiled gently. "Just promise me you'll believe you deserve it." His tone was warm but professional, and for the first time, she saw not a powerful CEO, but a man who understood what it meant to struggle and rebuild. Weeks later, Mia's life began to change. She moved to a better apartment, her son Leo started at a new school, and every morning, she walked into the office with her head held high. The whispers that once followed her were now replaced by quiet admiration. Still, she never forgot the rainy morning that started it all, the day she mistook her billionaire boss for a driver. Sometimes life's biggest turns begin in the most ordinary moments, and for Mia, what started as a mistake became a reminder that kindness, honesty, and courage can rewrite even the hardest stories.